and said, 哎呀，老师叫你站起来了哟。 So then, okay, then I quickly stood up, and I was like, okay, you know. Then the teacher asked me, okay, what's your name? I said, huh? Couldn't understand what he was talking about. And the teacher said, I'm asking you what your name is. Now this time, I could understand what she was talking about, but she was so fierce, right? She was looking so fierce. When I was about to say my name, I forgot my name. So I said, my name, just couldn't say it. And then the teacher was so upset. And she just blurted out something that really changed my life. And so she said in Chinese now. This is a Chinese teacher, right? Chinese lady. So she said in Chinese, is pointing at me, and he was like, 你是从什么山扒出来的啊？为什么一句英文都不懂啊？ You know? So then the class burst out in laughter. You know, all these little kids, you know, they were laughing. They were like, oh, you know, you got to understand, this school was the absolute worst school in Singapore. And this class was the absolute worst class in the absolute worst school in Singapore. And you cannot get any lower than that. And these guys are like, suddenly they realize, hey, there's somebody more stupid. And they were always the stupid ones. Suddenly, there's an even more stupid guy, 2 years older, from Malaysia. Ha ha ha. So they were so happy, right? So everybody suddenly feel good and proud of themselves. You know what I mean? You know, some guys, the guy who was sitting behind me, this Yao Hui guy, was even rolling on the floor, you know, like, couldn't stop laughing. And I just felt like the world was spinning around me, you know. It's like, you know, it's like, you know, when you watch movies and you see these bad people hurting good people, and the good guys like feeling the world spinning, and then all the people around him was laughing, you know, and they were laughing. Their faces are distorted, and they're laughing, you know, that kind of thing. So I just felt that spinning of the world. And suddenly I felt a really strange sensation on my face, and I reached out to it and I touched it, and it's something very strange. It's wet. You know, if you are really naughty, you never cry. I mean, I couldn't remember myself crying since the age of maybe 3. You know, we never cry. We fail, we don't cry. I mean, we fight, we don't cry. But at that particular moment, I felt tears coming down. And I touched it. I'm like, oh, I cry. I'm crying. My God, I'm crying. And then the rest of the class was like eternity. It's like 永恒, you know. And I just cannot wait until the school bell goes off. And then I ran all the way back to the apartment. And then I remember getting into the apartment, I closed the door, I jumped onto my bed, I covered my head with the pillow, and I started crying and weeping. And it was 3 o'clock when I did that. And by the time I decided to stop crying, because I couldn't cry anymore, the tears were dried, I just couldn't cry anymore, I looked up and looked at the clock, it was 7:30. So I cried for 3.5 hours. I've cried, I mean, I've cried out all the tears that were accumulated inside. And when I got up, after 3.5 hours, I did something that changed my life forever. So I said, I started to talk to the divine power above me. I was a free thinker back then, so I had no religion, but I just said, you know, 老天啊, 老天, and, you know, I said, you know, I humiliated my country. You see, if they ridicule me, that's fine. Because I am a person who's got no dignity. 没有自尊的人，没有自尊心的人，你骂我打我没有关系。But if you humiliated my country, I was patriotic. 所以我是一个爱国的人。所以当一个外国人，所谓外国人就是新加坡人嘛，是他这么说我的国家，因为新加坡人就长期看不起马来西亚。联邦人，你们这些38来的。You know, so I was very, very hurt, not because of what they said about me, but what they said about my country. And they said that about my country because of my wrongdoing. Because of me. I was not making my country proud. I brought shame to my country. And therefore, I was swearing. So I said, okay, I want to totally change. I don't want to be the old me anymore because I've wasted 16 years of my life already. So I want to become the best in whatever I do, and I'm going to start from English. If they think I cannot speak English, I'm going to make sure that they regret what they say. And so after that, I opened the drawer. I reached into the drawer. I pulled out a very thick book, and I blew away the cobweb, you know, 很多蜘蛛网哈，那个灰尘很多，because I never touch books, right? And then once I've wiped away the dust, I could see the title of the book. It's called Oxford Dictionary. 哇，牛津大字典。I'm like, you know, like 周星馳啦 you know, 武林啊咩啊，嗰個咩秘笈啊，係嘛？武林秘笈 you know, something like that, you know. So something like that. So I thought, okay, so this is going to be my life. I'm going to make sure that I gobble up this thing. Turned to the first page and started memorizing English words. And I did that for 10 hours a day. And after 3 months, I finished the whole dictionary. Actually, from page 1 to page 859, you know, just managed to finish the whole dictionary. And then I thought to myself, okay, now it is time for me to go down, you know, and seek revenge. You know, in all the Chinese kung fu movies, it's like that, right? So when people are bullied, they go into the mountains, is it right? And look for Sifu and all that. And then they will practice their kung fu in the caves. And after months and years, when they finally get it, you know, 一定是下山报仇的嘛，没有上山报仇的哈，都是下山报仇啊。So I thought that was what I'm going to do. And then I thought, okay, but before I do that, maybe let me just flip back to page 1 and see how many words I still know. And then when I flipped back to page 1, I realized other than apple and a few other words, I've already forgotten most of the other words. But you see, it doesn't matter if what you do is right or wrong, or the method in which you do is right or wrong. It doesn't matter as long as you do something in life. It doesn't matter if you are doing it in the most efficient and productive manner, as long as you do something now. That's what it is. Because most people wait until they have the right formula. They wait until there is the right timing. They wait until there is a perfect moment. And those things never come in life. And therefore what I did was that even though it was the worst strategy, to memorize a dictionary is not the best way to learn a language, but because you do something about it, you will gain some rewards. And so once I became really determined and positive, my life changed. You see, whatever we do, it is just a thought. It is just your decision. I mean, will there be poverty awaiting you? Or wealth? It's a thought now. 就是一种意念，一个决定而已。 You know, sometimes we overestimate how people became successful. So we look at these really well-to-do people, we think there must be a lot of things they know I don't know. There must be a lot of things they do I don't do. And you're wrong. Actually, they know just about the same things as you do. They actually do just about the same things as you do, but they do it with so much more intensity. You do 2 hours, they do 20 hours. You do 2 years, they do 20 years. I mean, you have a bit of problems and then you quit. They don't quit. I mean, even if it means going hungry, they don't quit. Even if it means going broke, they don't quit. And because of that, people make it. And so coming back to my story, because I became the most determined and the most hard-working student Singapore had ever seen, I'm telling you. I didn't sleep. I didn't need to sleep. I just continued to study. I just wanted to make up for lost time. I've lost 10 years of my education. I wanted to make it back. And so I went from being the worst student in Singapore to become one of the good students, and then one of the, I would say, probably most outstanding students in Singapore. I went from the worst school to the best school. It went from all failed to straight A's. And then I just moved on. And my life is never the same again. And because of that, I developed this passion in helping young people. I developed this passion in helping not just young people, but people in general to help themselves. Because I know there's so much potential that each of us have. If we don't unleash the potential, it is a waste of resources. It is not environmental. I'm telling you. I mean, the Creator has given us an abundance of resources, from the physical body to, most importantly, the brain that we have and the heart that we have. The brain is about creativity. The brain is about strategy. The brain is to lead you and to allow you to do something that is really, really good. The heart ensures that you do it right, that you do something ethical, that you do something that will help people and not hurt people. And so you use your brain and your heart together, it won't go wrong. And that's why once I became serious about the things I do, I started to become successful in everything I do. Be it study, be it business, be it social, social work and all that. Because it is all about attitude. 我们说 your attitude determines your altitude. Is it correct? 我们说你的态度决定你的高度. It's all about attitude. It is not about knowledge. Knowledge is important, but it is not it's not the first thing. If you're saying you got to choose one thing, you want to become successful, there's only one thing you can choose. You choose either, say for example, knowledge, attitude, background. Say for example, what kind of family you're from. Maybe your parents are rich and all that. Or your attitude. Or your qualification, your knowledge. Do you know a lot? So, say for example, you choose among these three things and you can only choose one. I'm not sure about you, but I'll choose attitude. I'll go for attitude. I will not go for background. I was just having a conversation with Datuk and we were saying, I'm looking at the Tan Sris in Malaysia. Just share with you. I've done a survey of all the tansuries, the Chinese tansuries. Okay, let's not talk about the Malay tansuries. Okay? Let's talk about the Chinese tansuries. There are 100 plus of them in Malaysia. And I did a survey on the Chinese tansuries, and I found that, in fact, a lot of the tansuries, they did not go through proper education. They were not. They didn't do tertiary education. Some dropped out of high school. Some didn't even finish primary school. In fact, many of them. And you wonder why. Well, how come these people who did not do what most people did, that is to get a proper education and qualification and all that, and somehow they moved up to the top of the food chain. Let's understand food chain. 食物链。他们这些人在没有任何条件的情况底下，他们上到去食物链的顶端。为什么会这样？ When we say they did not have proper education, that means they came from poor families. Is it correct? Hey, come on. If you come from good families, of course your parents would ensure that you go through education, blah, 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 blah. If Malaysia can't, they go overseas, right? These guys, they were on their own. And many of them, in fact, were poor as hell when they were young. Nothing to eat. And some were wandering in the streets. And some were fishmongers. 卖鱼的, 卖菜的, 卖面的, 做小贩的. I mean, many of them. And how come today they are who they are? There's only one thing that they have that the rest of the population doesn't have. And that is that, they have that attitude of never give up. Because if you want to become successful, the road is really, really tough. If you just want to be mediocre, 如果你只是要平凡 easy. Just go get a job. Yeah, it's easy. Just go get a job. Get any job. Come on, in Malaysia, the unemployment rate is very low. In fact, people who are unemployed because they don't want to look for jobs, that's all. Anybody who wants to look for a job gets a job. And so if you just want a job in Malaysia, anywhere you can get a job. But a job is a job. Then ask yourself, is that job going to sustain what I want to do for my family? Is it going to realize my life vision? What kind of vision do you have for yourself? What kind of lifestyle you want your family, your parents to enjoy? And you ask yourself, if I don't put myself through hell, I'm putting my family members through hell. I'm telling you. It's selfish. So some people, they do an easy way out. Jin Kang Go, very tough. And then after a while, 算了吧哈，这个我们不要这样苦了，这样苦干什么？不要这样苦了。那个大钱哪里是我们赚的？人家给人家赚呢，我们就随便的啦哈。And then you go to the hawker center, 人家问你要吃什么，一碗青菜，青菜就好啦，随便吧。这是一种非常自私的心态。这个就是宁可苦了我爱的人，不愿意苦自己。So I think that is really selfish. Because when you don't do your best, you're not going to bring enough financial resources to your family. You're not going to be able to do your best for your children. You're not going to be able to do your best for your parents who've spent all their lives, taking you to where you are. Therefore, I think it's important for us to develop a really, really strong